Welcome to the Extraordinary Purpose Podcast, where we explore some of the truly difficult questions and challenges that parents and their families face every day. Whether it's the sometimes painful process of parenting teens and young adults, navigating relationships with your partner and children, or you discovering your purpose in relationship with yourself, we will bring heartfelt and vulnerable conversations to the table to support and empower you. Our mission is to help you create a lifestyle full of love, passion, adventure, and influence. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to, you got it right, the Extraordinary Purpose Podcast with Erin and Chris. That could mean but one thing. I'm Chris, and as usual, I'm here with the radiant Erin Vertis. What's going on?
Hi, everyone. How's it going? Hi, honey.
Hi, it's going great.
Hi.
So, what's our
Good.
topic today, babe?
Our topic is an extension of our last
Yeah, it
episode, which
is.
I'm really excited about. So, last episode, and it wasn't last week because we were away, but the week before, we recorded an episode all about modeling what you'd like for your own children to be doing.
Mhm.
So the lifestyle that you model, your habits, your rituals, your emotional regulation, all of that. And we got really positive feedback on that, parents really wanting to kind of hear more. So we decided to take it a step further. And today we're going to talk about how to be more open and vulnerable and honest with your kids, how to have those deeper conversations, how to really show the humanness within you, not sweeping things under the rug, not hoping they won't remember certain things, not trying to shelter them from everything, but letting them know who you truly are.
Yeah. And I think that so many parents out there, and thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this conversation. So many parents are striving for connection. If there was one word that I think that we're all searching for our teens and young adults and for our children is connection. So many people that we talk to, they've lost that connection. And so a lot of what Aaron and I are talking about, and we really had a great conversation. And if you missed it, then go back to the previous episode after you listen to this episode, because this is all about creating an environment and a lifestyle that helps to create some of that connection. And so, as Aaron just said, it's a big cornerstone of our coaching and teaching philosophy for parents is to not just try to fix your kids, look at them that way like there's something wrong with them and we have all the answers. We don't. And that's okay. And that's a big step forward, just admitting that it's okay that we don't have all the answers, that our kids aren't broken. And kind of shifting the focus and the perspective back to us and saying, what can we do? How can we show up? How can we live our life? What are the things that we can focus on that are going to start to adjust that environment around us so that our kids start to pay attention? They really start to notice, like, wow, what's mom up to? What's dad up to? And that little shift, and Aaron and I can attest to this, can make such a positive difference. And then a big part of that environment now is understanding that as parents, we're not perfect. And so,
Mm-hmm.
as Aaron just said, babe, you just mentioned this. Like, we want the kids, we want our kids to get to know the real us, the real us. And that's such an important thing because I think so many parents spend so much time and so much energy trying to be perfect.
Yeah, I think too, a big reason from a lot of moms that I talk to personally in my life, moms of my kids' friends, things like that, and my own girlfriends, and the moms I speak to on our discovery
You
calls
talk to a
is,
lot of people, Aaron.
I talk to a lot of moms, a lot of women. I love women.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is guilt and shame and like not wanting to, this fear of being honest and upfront, this fear of what my kids are going to think, or, do I or don't I tell them about this or that? And what parents in general don't realize is that so much of that gets released when you do have those deeper conversations, when you're able to be responsible and kind of own your part in things or own your own stories, right? It makes such a difference. And of course, there's age appropriate times to talk about different
Mm.
things. So I actually, I was thinking about this as we're both sitting here talking that what we talked about in the last episode, I think, is amazing for all age
Yeah,
groups. Because when you think about our little ones, when they're smaller, they're really just watching all the
they
time.
sure
They're
are.
sponges, they're soaking up everything you're doing, saying, how you're
Yeah.
reacting to things. So, when they're a little bit younger, I think it's more about just modeling more.
Mhm.
And of course, there's age appropriate things that you can share with them. And I think what we're talking about here today is a little bit more for those, older teens and young adults in our lives, right? That we might look back on things that happened when they were a little bit younger and, thinking, do I or do I not have that conversation with them?
Yeah.
And what I really want to say is that it doesn't matter what the circumstance is. So I actually did a solo episode probably almost a couple months ago now about it was a personal story. And if you haven't heard that one, please go back and listen to it. But it had to do with a lot of this, just a time I went through in my life that my kids saw me going through a really hard time with separation from their dad, and I was struggling with some personal issues in my life, and it was really hard. And as I started to come out the other side of it, I had a lot of guilt and a lot of shame around that period of my life, but I always talked really openly with my kids about it. We still have conversations about it, and for me that helps so much. It doesn't take it away completely. There's going to be things in your life that you're going to carry forever, especially when you're a parent. It's hard work, and it's hard to know that they've watched you go through certain things. But whether it's a divorce or an addictive behavior or just a really dark time in your life that you've struggled with personally and they watched you go through that, how you handle that situation, how you talk to them openly about it, showing them the resilience that gained from that, that all is what really makes the difference. So it's not the circumstance, it's not what you went through or what they might have gone through with you. It's how you handle that situation. That's what we're teaching them in those moments.
Yeah. And I give you a lot of credit because when I first met you, I think that was obviously that's your strength is being vulnerable. I think it always has been. It's part of your spirit, it's part of who you are. My upbringing was the exact opposite. When I'm thinking about my childhood, I never got to know my parents. That's painful for me to say out loud. But just
Yeah.
being in my house and growing up, and, especially as I got older and I start to really notice and start to pay attention, but my parents did exactly what we're talking about. They put up this shield or wore this mask that they knew everything, that they were perfect. And I knew nothing about my parents as a result. I literally knew nothing. I didn't know what their passions were, I didn't know what their interests were. I didn't know when they had a good day or a bad day because they didn't talk about any of those things. It was always about me and what I was doing or what I was not doing. And this is, by the way,
Hmm.
not to judge any parents out there that maybe parent a certain way or another. This is more just to open up the conversation, understand that the way that I felt, especially in my teen years, is I felt alone. Okay. And that's as Erin was talking, I really thought about what the power of vulnerability really creates is the more you share, and the more your kids see the good, the bad, the ugly, see you working through real stuff, like not just the, oh, today was great, right? But the real stuff that we as adults have to go through, it does. You don't feel like you're alone because kids are dealing with stuff too, right? And when all of a sudden they see how you're dealing with your stuff, it does. It not directly, but it indirectly shows them the way. And that goes back to what we were talking about last week. And so, as we move forward and we talk to so many parents who are looking for ways to not fix their kids, but to create this connection, we feel like this is such a powerful thing that you can implement into your life and immediately start to feel better, which is really what we're all trying to get to. As Aaron mentioned that guilt word, we don't want you to feel guilty. We don't want to feel guilty. And so letting go of some of that guilt and focusing on some of these things that we're talking about can be the shift that we think can make a really big difference.
Yeah, and I also think, Chris and I were just talking about this before we started recording, is that having that deeper connection with your child, it's a two-way
Oh
street.
yeah.
I know as parents, we want our teens and young adults to open up to us. They
Mhm.
shut down, they keep everything to themselves. I was just with my son yesterday thinking that little boy that used to run to me and tell me everything, or I'd lay in bed with him at night and he'd tell me about his whole day, is no more.
Yeah.
But when River does open up to me, it's not usually when I'm just checking in on him in his room or we're passing each other through the house, but when we go out for our occasional like Sunday breakfast and we sit down and he'll eat, and he's great. He'll say, "Mom, how you doing?" Like he gets down to it. "How are you really doing?" And I'll tell him what's really going on, how life is, how business is, things, how me and Chris are doing. And he opens up and it just
Mhm.
creates this amazing, deeper conversation. But I always go first and I'm really open and
Yeah.
honest with him about how I'm doing. And then he tells me how his life's going. If there's a girl, how things are really going with friends, what he's truly struggling with underneath, the kind of the mask he wears day to day. So if you want your kids to open up, you have to open up to them too. I promise you, they still look up to
Mm.
you. Our older kids still put us on a pedestal. They're still kind of intimidated by us,
Yeah.
even though it doesn't seem like it
Yeah.
with the eye rolls and the slamming doors and ignoring us. So when you open up, it kind of like it takes a layer off, right? It's like they're able to see the real you. Their shoulders drop. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, mom's just still mom. She's a human being. She struggles too. Let me tell her what's going on with me.
Yeah. And that's the environment that we're talking about. I think so many, we're talking to teens and young adults, we're coach teens and young adults all the time. And so many of them communicate to us that, they feel like their parents judge them or they're too hard on them. They don't understand them when really they do. And I think that's really what we're trying to get down to here is the parents do understand. We just sometimes forget. We forget like what it was like to be a teen. We really forget what it was like to not know who we are and what we want for our
Hmm.
future and how to navigate relationships, especially in high school and college, how to figure out how to navigate some of life's challenges and distractions and, alcohol and drugs and good choices and
Yeah.
bad choices. Like we were there and luckily we all got through it. And so I think just lowering our defenses helps them lower their defenses. It creates that connection. They don't feel like we're judging them. They feel like we're one of them. We were there. We've been through it, right? We're going to help each other get better. That's the name of the game. That's part of the reason, by the way, like we encourage families to check in with each other for kind of the same reason where we're not judging each other. We're just talking about each other's days and each other's lives. And that opens up this conversation to go in directions that most conversations around school and work and life and relationships typically don't go.
Yeah, and I want to really highlight that this isn't just about stories from your past and things you went through and the hard times
Yeah.
and all of that. We kind of open it up that way. But this is also just about sharing your day to day.
Mhm.
And I think we have so much to learn about as parents about our own day to day scenarios when we are sharing openly and honestly with our kids about how we're growing, what
Yeah.
we're learning from the things we're going through, whether it's, for Chris and I having our own business clients
Yeah.
and learning about business. And, we talked a lot about in the last episode going to the gym and sharing
Right.
openly and honestly about things everything that we're up to
Mhm.
and really highlighting what we're gaining from these experiences, how we're growing, how we're learning, how they're shaping us and molding us as people. We're helping our kids learn every day how they can take all of their everyday situations and get something out of them. Every interaction with another person, every experience throughout the day is an opportunity to learn and grow and expand.
Yeah.
And so when we're just sharing our day to day at the dinner table or as we're tucking them in at night, I still tuck my 13-year-old, I still tuck my 18-year-old in actually. And we talk about something from the day, or I'll ask them what's a gratitude for today. And they tell me something they're grateful for. That's the kind of thing as well. It's not just sharing the hard times and the dark times, but just those day to day gratitudes and
Yeah.
experiences.
And when you're not forcing it and you're just doing it naturally, and there's no judgment and there's no inclination to try to fix something. They're paying attention and it's registering. And every single opportunity you have to create influence, they're remembering it. I'll give you a good example,
Hmm.
by the way. Something else that I talk to my son William about a lot because he's 13, and I know that he listens to what I have to say. And I'm not speaking at him; I'm speaking with him. But we talk about I talk about my passions a lot. I talk about my goals a lot. I talk about my dreams a lot. And so it's not just now the present, but it's also the future. And not from a coaching perspective, but just talking about it. Like, these are the things that I love doing. These are the things I'd like to try at some point in the next few weeks. These are the things that we're working towards, big and small. And something that I've noticed is that the more that you speak about these things, it creates this energy that once again kind of opens people up. And so all of a sudden, William starts talking about his passions and his curiosities and his interests. He follows me to the gym. We talked about that last episode. And it just happens more organically. So there's no control. It's all just you being more vulnerable, being more honest, focused on yourself. These are the things that can make the biggest difference.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned this as well. I know we keep referencing the last episode, but they're so linked together. I mentioned in the last episode that sometimes, again, our kids can be intimidating at times, and we feel like they don't want to hear everything we're up to, and they don't have time for it, or they have one earbud in, and they're hardly listening. But being more confident in owning what you're up to and sharing it. And I know I do this with my daughter a lot on the way to school. I'll talk to her about our social media and the things we're recording. And sometimes she laughs at me and says, I don't know anything about social media, but I share anyways. And now, like, it's becoming this regular thing around our houses. Chris and I are really focused in on that right now. And now she's giving me ideas and she's helping me and
Yeah.
she's kind of jumping on board and she wants to help me create some reels and she wants to be part of it. And had I just kept all of it to myself or felt almost kind of embarrassed to share it with her because
Yeah.
we
Hmm.
aren't 1,000% sure what we're doing at the moment, you know, she wouldn't even know. But because I'm confident in that I'm learning, I'm growing, we're trying to expand our business, we're expanding our audience, all of these things. She's hearing this all the time
Mm.
now. And she's like, I want to help, I want to be part of it. So it's so incredible what can happen when you are open and share with your kids what you're up to. It gives them a chance to be connected to you, to help you, to influence you as well.
That's almost like we're all a team. We're not
Yeah.
mother and father and kids. It's like we're all in this together. And we're all
Hmm.
open and honest about things that are going on, things we're working on, our challenges, and it's just this open conversation. And the more times that you have these types of conversations, Aaron's right. At first, it doesn't necessarily immediately happen. But the more times you do it, and the more times your kids can see that they can trust you, and maybe that's the really important ingredient here is they can trust you, that you're being open and honest with them. You're not going to
Hmm.
try to sway them in one direction or another. You're going to let them figure out the way themselves, which, by the way, is the real key outcome here. Is the more that we're doing all of these things that we're talking about, is your kids, our kids, they're going to start to figure it out. What are they passionate
Hmm.
about? What are their goals? How do they overcome their challenges? How do they navigate some of these different things? What do I do about a situation at school? And they can go back to all of these conversations and all the things that they remember seeing mom and or dad doing. And all of that's information for them to leverage to make them better, to move them forward, to help them become the person that they're fully capable of becoming.
And I just want to kind of circle back around to something I said more towards the beginning, too, is, back to worrying, having that, carrying that guilt and shame around. When you have when you do have conversations, if there's something on your heart that you have guilt around or
Mhm.
that haunts you, those moments right before you fall asleep at night or when you're driving in the car, when you're in the shower, those little memories that pop up. I shared one with my daughter when I was laying in bed with her a few weeks back, and it's something that I think about a lot. And I brought it up to her and she had to think for us. She goes, Oh, I don't even really remember that, Mom. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, here I am carrying this around, thinking it's
Haunting
gonna
you.
like affect her for the
Yeah,
rest of her life.
right.
So just to say, have these conversations, guys. If you do have something that you're concerned about, or how the divorce might have impacted your child, or how your behavior at this phase in their life may have impacted them, what you're going to realize too is that it probably impacts you more than it does them or will them. So by you opening up that conversation, getting things off your chest, having that dialogue with them, that's part of how it releases some of that guilt and shame. You start to recognize, like, okay, this isn't as heavy as I thought it was. It's much worse for me than it probably was for them. So, Chris, why don't we talk a little bit quickly about how parents can start really working on this week with their family, with their kids?
So I think that, and this is something, by the way, that we have all of our families participate in who are doing our coaching program, but we call it a family check-in. And that check-in word is really important because it involves creating some sacred space, some time and space for you and your young adult to find a quiet space where you can sit down and really have a deep, heartfelt conversation. By the way, this doesn't have to take more than 5 or 10 minutes each evening. Usually we start in the evenings because that's when you can start to reflect on your day a little bit. A lot of great stuff happens during the day. A lot of bad things or challenges happen during the day. And it's a really good time of the day to reflect on some of that so that you can feel better before you go to sleep. And so we have parents, and we recommend you do this starting tonight if you want to, is sit down with your teen or your young adult and just start to share. Share what a win was that you had today, something really positive that happened today that you're really excited about or really proud of. Doesn't have to be about them, by the way. This could be all about you and your life. That's really the whole objective of this. You can also share something that's not going so well right now, either today or just currently in your life. It could be family related, relationship related. It could be about work. It could be about anything. Just be vulnerable. And just whatever the elephant in the room, the thing that's really bothering you, share it with them. Let them know that you're a real person who has real issues and real challenges. Something else that I think is a really important thing to talk about is, how do you plan on being better as a person, as a parent, as somebody who has goals? Like, what's your plan to kind of make an improvement in a certain area of your life? And so they can hear from you, like, what are you doing to work on yourself? Not what do you want them to work on? We know that that's there, but that's not part of this conversation. What are you doing, or what's your plan to make an adjustment or to make an improvement?
I love that, babe. Awesome. All right, guys, listen, have an incredible week, and we will see you in the next
See you,
episode.
everybody. Take care. Have a good week. Talk to you soon.
Bye. We are so thankful for you and your beautiful family, and hope you found something inside today's episode that brought you hope, inspiration, and most importantly, a path forward. If you're interested in evolving your relationship, giving your kids the most important gift of personal growth and development, or are a mom looking to reconnect with your confidence and become empowered in all areas of your life, then schedule a discovery call with us today. Our mission is to help as many families as possible find their purpose, and that starts with you. See you in the next episode, my friends.